So every time I speak about failures of African people, I always want to make a disclaimer to say some failures are attributed to your enemies. So here's a case in point. You know, Haiti. Haiti is an example. It was set as an example for African people all over the world. All over the world, to show African people that you can rebel and deny colonialism or deny slavery. Will give you the freedom, but will use you as an example for other countries to say, if Africans want to stand alone, but stand by themselves, they cannot do anything. They will fail, much like they do with Cuba. Every time you want to talk about communism, they will give you an example with Cuba, because they want Cuba to fail. Cuba has been fighting ever since Batista was removed there. The days of Fidel Castro, and they were shown, they were used as an example to show people that whatever you do, you cannot defeat the system. So it was an example, but the purpose of this podcast is just to show you that France, much like they did with Haiti, France just wants to make sure that the 14 countries that it keeps colonizing, but it says it is not colonizing, those 14 countries, it's clear how they are. It's clear how they've colonized them, and you would not even question how they colonized. So let me just stop this call. So you will not even doubt how they've colonized them, because you could see clearly they've colonized them with the law. So what has France done? France has just kept the same conditions. In fact, Dr. Arikana Chiombori, she's a medical doctor based in USA. She's been saying this for many years, and she's been kept quiet. She's been silent. She's been trying to tell everyone what is happening in Africa now, to say France is a colonial power that is still in existence, much like others, and the media just want us to look away. They just want us to look to Russia and stuff. But here are the facts. These are the colonial agreements. Francophone countries such as Benin, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, Mali, Niger, Sangura, blah 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 blah, had with France before they were granted independence. So I'm just going to roll out these things just for you to see just how difficult these countries are still colonized. And like I said, the other countries, Burkina Faso was not ready. Thomas Sankara was ready. Sankara was ready and Patrice Lumumba was ready, but the people in the country, they were not ready, because they kept on betraying each other. The neighbors, the whole of Africa is not ready, and you will see why. So agreement number one, that the colonial debt to repay the benefits of colonization. So these countries are paying for France having civilized them. This is what they say. That means newly independent states must reimburse the cost of the infrastructure built by France. And by the way, when the French left, they disorganized those countries. They bombed, they made everything dysfunctional, so these countries can struggle to rise up from their feet. It's not only France, a lot of these colonialists did that. That's why in South Africa, some other people find it as a paradox in itself, because it's a contradiction of terms. But Joe Slovo, who came with the sunset clauses, he called South African revolution. He said it's the colonialism. He said it was a colonialization of a special type, because it wasn't like any other colonization in South Africa, because the colonialists, they didn't leave. After the freedom, after independence, they stayed and still controlled the bulk of the infrastructure and everything. But agreement number 2, automatic confiscation of national financial reserves. That means those African countries must deposit their financial reserves with the Banque de France. Well, you could see as it reads. That's agreement number 2. So these guys are still forced to bank with France. Number 3, the right of first refusal on any raw natural resource discovered in the country. So I'm just what I'm going to do. Let me just give you all of this, and then I'll come back to you. I'm just going to give you all of this, these things, and then I'll come back.
But for the purposes of communication, I will use that. 14 of those countries, they said, in order for you to get your independence from us, you must sign this document. You thought they could have found a better name for the document. The document was called the Pact for the Continuation. I repeat, the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. We are talking about giving you independence, but sign this pact for the continuation of colonization in a different format. And I'm going to highlight some of those issues that they said you must agree to if you are going to be independent. Hello. Maybe we need to redefine the meaning of independence for the French. First, France said, you see, you monkeys, you don't know how to manage your money. We're going to demand that you deposit 85% of your bank reserves with the French Minister of Finance. Under the French Central Bank, under the control of the French Minister of Finance. France is then going to take your 85% bank deposits from each and every one of you. Deposit those funds in the French stock market under the French name, and you may or may not know the returns. Today, as we speak, the latest figures are saying for every 14 billion that France invests in the stock market from Africa, they are realizing upwards of 300 billion in return. Every year in, year out, because of these deposits from the African countries, France is taking out of Africa over $500 billion. Now figure it out. For every 14 billion, the returns on the investment are over 300 billion, and they are taking over 500 billion. So in actuality, France is taking out of Africa trillions of dollars year in and year out from us poor people.
So coming back to agreement number 11, the obligation to ally with France in the event of war or global crisis. So all these agreements just show you that we are not ready. We are not ready at all as a continent. So I want you to understand. Do you think if all these 14 countries, they deny all these agreements, their parliament say we no longer want this agreement, we are not going to allow to honor them. By the way, that was what Sankara was saying. Stop paying them, because if you don't pay them, they're gonna kill me. And Sankara died less than 2 weeks from the date he said it in 1987, when he told the whole Africa United to say, if you don't and stand with me to stop paying these monies to the French, to the World Bank and stuff, they are gonna kill me. And they came for him, they killed him. Well, let's just hope they won't kill me for this podcast. So, by the way, this is it. This is it as it starts. I believe nothing. There will never be anything to dispose of France. Thank you very much.